Hello, welcome to Waiting for Game, a podcast presented by Melee Stats. I'm your host, Gimme Jet Wheat, and today we got a fun little episode, kind of a state of Melee episode. What's going on in the world of Melee in 2023? Got a lot of questions and some cool events to recap, some cool events to look forward to, and to do so, I have one of the coolest, most charming content creators out there. Of course, I'm talking about my good friend Edwin Budding. How's it going, Edwin?
I'm doing pretty well. It feels like forever that we've done this. Is that just what February's been like? I don't know. I'm really happy to talk about Melee for as much and as little as what's going on right now. We have so much to get into between inter like mid tier or low tier character beef. We got a couple of regionals to talk about. We have some randomly prominent performances, and I think we saw it as appropriate to bring on somebody who's made a name for himself in the last month and a half. June, it's so fun to see you. How you been? What's your 2023 been like?
It's been pretty chill. I work, I play Smash sometimes. I go on bike rides. It's been very fun. Um, and of course Donkey Kong has been on my
There we
mind.
go.
I've been playing a Young Link recently, but then I had to take a break because Young Link just hurts my hands. There's too many shuffle nairs. Uh,
Getting too old, man.
yeah,
It's okay, we all are.
I've
None of
been
us are
doing
getting
the
any younger.
Zane pillow thing and putting a pillow under my hands, but it still doesn't help with the young link.
Maybe a mattress. Maybe that'll help.
Yeah, just memory foam.
It'll make traveling to majors hard, but it might be worth it. But yeah, we've got a lot to talk about this episode. We're going to talk about some tournaments that happened since the last time we were on. We're going to talk about some tournaments that are coming up. And yeah, what is going on in Melee? There's a lot going on. So before we get to any of the kind of big stuff going on in Melee, let's talk about the event that just happened recently. So we are coming off of Up Expo, which is an event that kind of came from the ashes of Double Down, so to speak. Double Down this year was going to be hosted at Up Expo, and obviously because of what happened with Smash World Tour, had to kind of change their focus, and VGBC had to kind of back out as anything larger than a broadcaster, as far as I know. So we got to see kind of a tournament right there in Vegas, and AMSA versus Hungrybox, and maybe a grand finals that we didn't really expect. One of the interesting things about this is how boring of an event it was. I think I am not saying anything against AMSA or Kadorn or anyone else. I did not watch this event personally. I was busy with something and did not have did not feel like I missed out. Usually, if I miss a bigger event, really feels like, oh, like, you know, the whole like Smash landscape is different now, right? Everyone's excited about something. This one, it kind of felt pretty whatever, and it's something that is you know, you have to wonder if this is indicative of the year to come. But before we maybe get into kind of the bigger questions about that, June, did you get a chance to watch any of Level Up Expo?
Yeah, I watched winners finals, grand finals, a few of the matches in top eight. Yeah, I kind of got a similar feeling where I actually didn't know that the event had happened until the videos popped up on my YouTube feed. And I was like, oh, I guess there was a major this weekend. Uh, and yeah, I was very surprised to see Kadoran just beat H God. I mean, he lost the first set versus him, but was able to finally clutch one out versus Clutch God. And it was I don't know if you did you guys see that set? Towards the end, it looked like HBox was gonna come back, and then just like
It always
one
does.
errant dash attack cost him that set. And then yeah, Amsa just kind of flew through everyone else. I was very impressed by his performance. It wasn't like close either. I feel like he was very dominant.
A good bounce back from his ninth place at Genesis.
Yeah. for sure. Hack's Money looking really consistent now that he's
Sure.
allowed to compete.
Well, at this one.
At this one, yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a weird event because it kind of bears a lot of weight at this point in the year, right? Last event we had was it was 3 weeks ago. It was Genesis. Next event we have is like 2-3 weeks away in Collision, and usually we don't really have anything really big going on in February, but it feels so different right now. And to the point of the HBox win, Edwin, what are your thoughts on Kador winning over HBox? That's what I call an HBox win. I don't even mention the person who beat HBox. Sorry, Kador.
Plays Marth. Ken?
But yeah, close enough for me. But I want to hear your thoughts, Edwin, about the Kadoran win over HBox. I know that you are a Kadoran fan, and I want to hear, was this him finally breaking through on a consistent level, or was this something like we saw at Wave Dash, where it's just like, all right, you got your one, right? You spin the wheel enough versus H God, and you're bound to get one. What do you think about it?
Well, I do think there's a difference between beating HBox multiple times and beating him just once and then getting farmed forever, right? Which I think we've seen that happen to people. I think Kadoran taking a second set is pretty interesting. Kadoran versus Jigglypuff is very interesting, right? If I see Kadoran versus HBox in bracket, I think HBox is favored typically, but I think, all right, I think Kadoran's got a pretty good shot at this. Like, I think it can happen. If I see Kadoran versus like Toussaint, for some reason, I think that's horrifying.
Panko.
Panko,
Eve.
like Eve. Yeah.
Eve.
Kadoran
oh my god! Kadoran's gonna play Khalid.
Yeah, Kadoran versus Khalid. I'm sweating. I think I've watched Kadoran versus a Puff for a bit, and I think there's some very specific like drift patterns and like ways that HBox likes to land or whatever that Kadoran just kind of has like he's studied and practiced enough to beat like that. But I don't think he does very well against like some of the other Puffs that it's kind of hard to describe. It's just like different spots of where HBox likes to land situationally. I feel like Kadoran has a pretty good handle on that. I'm not saying that.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that like I think Kadoran like sort of at least my understanding of him versus Jigglypuff is I think he knows the basics pretty well, but like he really like I think you can tell in his play if you've ever watched him against Puff, he's very used to or like kind of hyper focused on like HBox's habits and where he sort of likes to go and stopping him from going there. I don't really know how that I don't really quite understand why like he hasn't translated that to some of the other Puffs as much, but for whatever reason and for whatever limits I might have overall, I do think it makes him a pretty scary opponent for HBox. But this kind of I guess the last thing I'll say on this, I always like to bring it in threes, like just as a general rule of thumb. I think if you beat someone once, that's great. It means that we definitively know you're not like an auto lose against them, or that it's possible for you to beat them. But we're not necessarily holding our breath on it happening again, right? Especially if it's going against like a quote unquote better player, right? But I think if you beat someone twice and like your sets are starting to become competitive, yeah, it's a promising sign. Is Kadoran going to beat HBox for sure next time they play? I don't think so. But is it more likely than it was after he beat him the first time? And is it more likely than it was before he had ever beaten him? Yeah, I would say so. So I think this is possible heading into this is sort of like what I imagine as the wacky outcome of this tournament, right? Kadoran takes a set from HBox, gets second to AMSA. Maybe a wackier thing would be HBox winning, but just the way that's been trending against AMSA, I didn't think that would happen here.
A few things I want to say, some of which may align with your theory, Edwin, is one is I've worked with Kadoran before for coaching stuff, so I know Kadoran is very much like a game plan focused, situation focused player. Like if he doesn't understand something, he's gonna lab it. And HBox is probably the person or the Puff with the most material out there that he can study from. I think his punish game looks very good versus HBox. Part of that is HBox DI versus Marth combos not being particularly the best. I think against other Puffs in particular, I've noticed and this is something Kadoran's also talked about, so I don't feel bad putting it on blast for this. Kadoran is not as disciplined as, say, a Zane, so sometimes he just throws the haymakers out there. And if you do that versus Puff, like in most situations, like if the Puff is ready, you could just die. And like you have to play a very, very safe and methodical game versus Puff the whole time. And sometimes Kadoran gets put in a spot where he might panic, but I think he's played HBox and studied the situations enough that he doesn't panic as hard, which helps him. And then the other things you were saying.
One thing I think is I mean Kadoran's a great player, right?
Kadoran's great.
And I do think that this is very important for his rise. I think that he's been considered top 10-ish, top 15 for sure. The issue with him was kind of okay, like we saw him get sets over these top players. We saw him beat Mango. He took a set off of Hungrybox. He took a set off of Cody, and it really just became, well, can he actually do this on a consistent level? Because as we got until the end of the year, felt like he was trending more towards not being someone who would really punch up against the top tier, right? We saw him versus Leffen like every week for some reason. We saw him versus Junebug. Like, these are very hard sets, but it just really felt like it was something where, okay, Kadoran, if he plays Fiction or something, that seems like that's a very good draw. But getting into a top 8 and making an upset there, something like that, might be very hard for him. So I do think that this is a good sign. But I do want to say, my little take on this is, I don't know if HBox went to this weekend caring about Melee as his main game. Because what also happened this weekend was he got voted into Summit. He got voted into the Ultimate Summit, Smash Ultimate Summit 6. He broke the record for most votes, I believe, which then got broke the next day when Aaron got in. But yeah, I like pretty sure he live streamed at the event somehow. I don't know where. Feel like he always does that. So I don't know. I'm not going to say that there's an asterisk on this win. I'm just saying, like, if we're talking about does this win affect Kadoran's future? Does this loss affect HBox's? Is HBox maybe is it the year where you kind of look over at Ultimate a little more? This far into the year, it seems like they're doing a lot healthier than we are. So it's a funny question to ask. But yeah, no, I mean, I don't want to take anything away from Kadoran, and obviously nothing away from AMSA, but it really pegs the question when I watch this major, quote unquote major, with like 5 top 100 players and 80 people overall. Like, if I were HBox and I were a top 5 player, or top 10 player, and wanted to check out of any event, maybe the one where I'm running for Ultimate Summit might be the one where I would do it. But yeah, let's use that as a springboard to talk about what it's going to look like, where we're at in Melee, because I do not blame anyone for looking over to what Ultimate has. We're coming off of, like I said, we're coming off of one major in Genesis, and we've got a couple weeks until the next. But we've got an interesting path ahead of us. We've got Collision coming up, which is capped at about 400 players. And after that, our next major event is going to be Major Upset, which is capped at 256. After that, it's Low Tide City, which I believe has about 40 entrants. The week after that is Combo Breaker, which never really has had a huge Smash scene, and the hotel sold out immediately. And after that, we've got Battle BC, which is an event that I believe they've got about 200 entrants, 3 months out from their event, which is great. But also, I do have some doubts about whether or not a major outside of America can actually sustain the same level of a tier 2 major has, right? So we've got a lot of interesting questions coming up. And I guess the question I have is, June, you've been around for a while. You've seen the ups and downs. You've played Brawl. You've played PM. You've played scenes that have had some, hard times. Do you get worried when you look at what's happening in Melee right now when it comes to the amount of tournaments that are going on?
I'm not really worried, but I I'm fine with going back to the shadows. If majors die, I'm like, all right, cool, and then I'll just play in my basement, you know. But I also think it's a sign of, you know, a lot of competitors this season were talking stuff that sounded like burnout, and I was like, oh, tournament after tournament after tournament, and you know, I think it's fine for Melee to have an off season. I think people have talked about this idea of an off season for a while. It's just weird because I think people, instead of like a stretch where it's like, okay, everybody take their break now, we just kind of have players do it on their own time. Maybe he's like, oh, I'm not going to attend this major. I'm going to play with my dog. Or I'm not going to attend this major. You know, have some stuff I need to work on.
This is a pro dog podcast, Junebug. Be careful.
Yeah, I love dogs. But I'm saying that, you know, the amount of majors that is happening or that are happening, I don't think it is a concern right now. But I that's from my like biased underground perspective where I'm like, wow, you guys have this many tournaments? Dang. We got a tournament coming up soon. 20 entrants. We're pretty excited.
You know, I will say, definitely don't want to act like, you know, we don't realize how lucky we have it. I got to follow along with the 64 scene as they released their top 64 players of the year. And,
they do top 64.
They do top 64
fun.
players of the year. I think this is their first time doing a offline one for a while. And yeah, like instantly I recognize the kind of position we are in because they are ranking people off of like one tournament. It's like, this guy went to SmashCon and got 5th, so he's the 5th best player in the world. And it's like, yeah, no, I understand that, you know, maybe it's not too bad if I'm complaining about like, it's going to be like 2 months between our next major. Maybe that's not the biggest deal in the world, but it is an interesting prospect because Melee has not really had to deal with this to that extent, right? Edwin, what do you think about this? You know, we're coming off of a year that we literally had an off season because of the novel coronavirus and its good little buddy Omicron. So it's, you know, it's been a long time since we had a real Melee season, but what are your thoughts on how this one's shaping up to look?
Right. So let me give the optimist path first, okay?
Okay.
The first optimist point of view is that this is February, okay? We just finished with Genesis. If you look at a lot of years, typically after Genesis, it's normal to have a bit of a lull, right? Last year was a little unusual because Genesis was planned for January, then obviously had to get delayed until April. But typically, like, you know, Genesis typically starts the year after rankings come out. Then we have a little bit of a break. And sometime around March or April, we kick back in with events, right? So if I were to be 2023's Melee hype man, here is roughly what I would say, right? So we got some regionals coming up that are going to be really fun. One of them features Cody Schwab. So Kilroy is going to be pretty exciting. That's going to be a nice warm-up for Collision in May, which is set to feature basically the entire Northeast, ton of top East Coast talent, Zane, Cody Schwab. I think Hungrybox and Leffen are going to be there also. So
at Collision?
Yeah.
Oh my god, that's
so
crazy.
we're gonna see something that's basically gonna have. Also Slug will be there, so I think it's quite likely that that'll have about like 7 or 8 top 10 players. So we
Getting
already
some international talent as well from the compendium, if people pay.
So that's a great point that's a great thing to look forward to in March, and March is really not that far away. April, you know, depending on how things turn out, major upset could be really big in Oregon. So major
capped.
upset. Oh, it's capped.
It can't get any bigger than it is right now.
Well, maybe someone gets TPP'd, right? So that's going to be pretty big. I believe AMSA is going there. Hopefully, Plup is going.
Zane, Plup, Cody. And that is another stacked event. It's just interesting because, you know, if you are someone who looks at it, we're generally not attuned to this idea of, you know, you better sign up before it's too late. Case in point, I was helping the TO of Collision, working behind the scenes on some ideas, and I never signed up. And I literally got on the wait list because because I forgot. Yeah, I think the idea of like being, oh, I can sign up at any time is pretty strong in the Melee scene, right? You know, the joke about like everyone signing up at the last minute. Yeah, we might have to come to terms with the idea that that might not be something that we get to do.
Wait, what was the famous term that we kept saying about tournaments last year?
It's buyer's market.
Buyer's market.
It's a buyer's market. There are so many majors out there that you can take your choice. 24-hour venue, sure, I'll go to that one. Oh, they're running monitors? I don't care. There's going to be another major in a few weeks. I don't need to go to you. It was the kind of event where, yeah, you could. There were so many events that you had to cater to the people who were going. It's not just we have a bunch of CRTs, or well, we have a bunch of Melee setups. Go play, because you know that's how it used to be, right? You didn't have to win over people as much. But yeah, last year and the year before, to an extent, it was a buyer's market. Now, question I ask both of you: does it feel like a buyer's market right now? Jim,
No.
What do you think?
I don't think so.
Edwin
I think
says
it may be
no.
a seller's market.
Wait. Somebody, buyer's market is when the attendees have all the power. A seller's market is where the TOs have the power.
We've never said seller's market because you know what? It didn't happen last year. It didn't happen. Probably didn't happen since the time we did our podcast, right? The entirety of the time we did our podcast, I don't think there's ever been a time where the person who the attendee, the general attendee, has been in this type of position. So I assume it's called a seller's market. I mean, if there's a buyer's market, there must be a seller's market. But guess what? We've never had to say it.
Yeah, I mean, I still think the flexibility offered to Melee players is pretty good right now. Like you have net play tournaments literally every day. You have the coin box.
Yeah, that was gonna be my next point. I think this reality that we're heading in, this future may be very terrifying, right? Where we not only have Coinbox Wednesdays, but we have Coinbox Mondays and Tuesdays and Thursdays and Fridays as well. And eventually,
How much money do you think Coinbox has?
Well, the point is that it sort of creates this future where we have the Coinbox singularity, right? So instead of Genesis, it's called the Coinbox Genesis. Instead of calling it the Smash Summit, it becomes the Coin Summit. And instead of the big house, it becomes the coin house. And we
Just
basically
Coinbase envelops everything in the scene.
Yeah, it envelops everything, and we actually stop leaving our houses, and it all becomes net play tournaments, commentated by Hungrybox, PPMD, and Mewtwo King.
And
You know-
you get paid in crypto.
Yeah.
This is insane. The idea of a summit sponsored by Coinbase.
Yeah,
Edwin,
it's
you're
really
crazy.
nuts. It's never been done.
Next, you're gonna tell me that there's gonna be an online tournament where you get paid in crypto just for showing up.
Yeah, so sponsored by a very lovable player. That'll never happen, Edwin.
That'll never happen, Edwin.
Never. I'm a crazy
but
man.
Who knows, right? Who knows? And I think that it's a year that was not supposed to be like this, right? You know, that's the thing about Melee. That's the thing about Smash or any big events, is that it's not planned on the fly. Everything that you're seeing has been in plan for a year, right? The second one event ends, they go, okay, well, what are we going to do next year? And these dates are locked in a year or two before they even happen, or the venue contracts are signed forever ago. So it really just is this interesting thing, because this was not supposed to be a year that was going to be like this, and we're probably going to end up seeing a ton of events at the end of the year, as we normally are. But you're right, Edwin. It is a year that, it feels weird because last year was kind of scrunched into 8 months because of Omicron. And also, I think that Collision and Major Upset were never supposed to bear this much weight, right? They were not supposed to be the majors that we have for the scene. Major Upset is basically, I think it's the first time Melee is involved in that long-running Ultimate series. And same thing for Collision. Collision ran a ton of Ultimate events, was very big, and then they decided to do Melee. And it was like, they're not side events, right? But it is second banana. Hey, we're going to be talking about that later, second banana. But it is second banana to the Ultimate events. And because of the landscape of Melee, they are now the events, right? They are now the majors. And because of it, they are probably going to see some stress. And I don't think there's any way to talk about this without talking about VGBC, right? I mentioned earlier that it was Level Up Expo that we just saw this past week. It wasn't double down. I can't imagine that there's probably a pound, right? I would imagine that pound would probably be happening at some point in the near future if it were not for the events that happened with Smash World Tour. It's going to be interesting, right? Because we usually have this ebb and flow, like you mentioned, June. There's a lot of time that feels like an off season, even if it's not planned. It's just the natural way that it goes, is that we're going to have kind of lesser months. But it really just feels like there's no anchor that there normally is. And we are going to be going a few months before we get to like a pretty established major, which is Battle of BC. And it's something that we really haven't gone through a lot. It's an interesting feeling for sure. But if you are confident, June, I am confident.
I get the seller's market thing now. It took me a while. I get it.
It is you can just like the housing market right now. It's a bit of a seller's market. It's this thing where if you are someone who wants to go to a major, right? Let's say you want to be on the summer top 50. Let's say you want to be on the top 100 at the end of the year, and you're like, oh well, I better go to a major at some point soon. You are going to not have to like set. You're basically gonna have to settle. You can't have very lofty expectations of what you want to do, because you can't go to Collision, it's capped. You can't go to Major Upset, that's capped. If you aren't someone who has a passport, well, you can kiss Battle of BC goodbye. Combo Breaker is an amazing event, and I am looking into going, but it's kind of a lofty thing because you are paying for probably like the best experience in the FGC, but if you only play Melee, it's like,
Is it like an Evo thing where it's like the Melee setups aren't really great, everything's 2 out of 3, or is it like an actual?
Connor and Jade are running it, so I do have some faith in this being a thing, but it's just it's like going to Disney World, Edwin, except you only go for the Dole Whip, right? And then you're like, man, that Dole Whip is great, but it costs a lot of money overall.
Yeah, it is good and expensive. I'll say that. Especially the pineapple one is really good. It's like behind the Aladdin ride and everything.
It's like comparing the Dole Whip inside of Disney World to like a Dairy Queen, and you go, I like the Dole Whip more, but it's just really expensive. I have to pay for a very expensive ticket to get in. So I think Combo Breaker will be extremely fun for anyone who goes. It's just this thing of, it being one of the premier FGC majors. If you are not someone who's going to like watch Tekken or, Strive or something like that, if you're not going to take it in, you're probably going to be paying for an experience that might not fit the bill of what you'd be paying for like a similar Melee event, right? If it gets up 200 people, it's probably going to be a higher price event than a similar 200 person event. So it's just it's an interesting year. But Edwin, you were mentioning it, so I'm going to let you go off about it because I've been yammering on. We've got majors coming up. We're sorry. We've got regionals coming up. That is the one thing that I think that there is some light at the end of the tunnel, is that, like you said, you mentioned Kilroy. This weekend we're coming up. We've got Bodied is going to have a bunch of players from around. We've got BEMI, of course, that we're going to be talking about. We are just kind of at this level of regional, like they're a regional abundance that honestly I didn't see last year.
Yeah, I mean, I love regionals, and I think the stakes can be very high at regionals because you go to a national, you have an idea of who's gonna do well. Zane's gonna do well, J-Mook's gonna do well. Honestly, you go to a regional, you have all the best players in region. Like, anything could happen. I think there's a general idea of like who's gonna do well, but there's like these players have been playing so many sets together for a long time. Like, you get those really high level interactions. You get just like plenty of upsets. You get all the regional hype, all the like in group drama. It's great. It's great. I love a good regional.
I mean, even in a tournament where it's everyone in a very strong region, when there's one real like Titan type player there, then it kind of becomes fun in a different way, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
well, you
okay,
wanna.
yeah, it's like, okay, we're at what is it, like Smash Valley or whatever? Like, can anyone stop HBox here, right? Or can anyone stop or like when HBox went to all those regionals in 2017 when he was just going to a tournament every week, and those were kind of like the training grounds for Zane, right? Like you would have events like that. So, you know, I brought up Kilroy before because Cody Schwab is going to be there. So I think that'll be a really fun kind of, you know,
Just call him
battlegrounds sort of.
Cody.
Cody Schwab is fun to say though. I will say Cody's more natural.
Hey, if
but
you're
because
having
it's-
fun, I'm not about to stop you.
Did I call him Schwab?
Do not call him Schwab.
Will we get
Don't
sued?
don't get Radar started on this. If he were on the show, he'd lay into you right now.
for
He'd be for calling him, for even suggesting the idea of calling him Schwab.
okay, all right.
And don't get us started on Radar, because we're going to be talking a lot about lemons if you do.
Yeah.
That's the tier list. Oh my god.
You know, and I just want to remind everyone who's listened to the show, like, for as much as we've talked about this tweet and this fruit tier list had like 2 likes.
Yeah,
I think
it had like 4.
Yeah, 4. Okay, my bad. Twice as much. But if Elon Musk's like whole views thing was around back then, I'm pretty sure that tweet would have less than 100 views. But like, judging by as many times as we've brought it up on the show, you would think this was like a scene-defining tweet.
It depends. Yes, depends how views are tracked. I've viewed it myself 100 times. So.
Yeah, I think it might have thousands of views just because people looked at it and were like, I'm not gonna like that. What is this?
A very rare tweet that like people don't want to interact with, you know. Well, there's a lot of tweets that people disagree with and they're just like, I'm gonna drag this person, and it's got like 87 quote retweets to like 13 likes. Not this one.
Yeah.
Everyone's just like, I'm gonna stick with it.
Yeah,
So we
I feel like
like
Banana's
Radar.
got to be number 1 though, right? I feel like Banana is so solidly like top 2 or top 3 in so many categories. It's tasty on its own. It's a great flavor. It's got prop value. You can hit someone with it or throw it. It's got comedy value, like eating a banana and throwing the peel in a road or in the street to cause some mayhem and everything. I
Sounds
love
very
bananas so
dangerous.
much.
But bananas are great. I mean, it's entirely subjective, which is the fun thing. My favorite fruit, personally, is passion fruit. I had it
Okay.
once when I was on vacation, when I was like in
Miles away or what?
yeah. I think in the Dominican or something, sophomore year. And it was so good. And now I can only get small tastes of it in my Chobani yogurt. But I still love passion
Every
fruit.
taste of Chobani is 1 second away to the white sands, the white beaches.
Take me back, please.
Well, I'm sure we're going to be talking about bananas very soon because I know someone who likes bananas a lot. But I just want to cap off. Yeah, it's an interesting time that we're in because of the relative lack of majors. But I think that what we're going to end up seeing is, after we get to Battle BC, we're probably going to see another little tiny lull. I don't imagine that CO is really going to pop off the same as it did last year. I mean, thanks to, Panda. I think that was kind of bolstered a little bit rather than, a little more than it normally would. But by the time we get back into the Gommels and the Smash Cons and other events, if we have got a shine, if we've got a big house, if we've got stuff like that, I think it's going to be good. Regionals are definitely doing really well, and I think that we are kind of falling back into the idea of, like, it's okay for top players to go to regionals, because generally with the majors that we had, it didn't really make sense for someone to go, right? If you were going to, like, be in contention to win a major, taking a weekend to fly out to play, like, Scherzo, it's like, well, I could do that, or I could net play Zane for 18 hours of my weekend. And, what helps you more with your ability to, like, win Smash Summit, right? Which we're also going to be seeing at some point soon. So it'll feel a little weird, but I think it's going to be good. The only thing that I have some apprehension about is I don't know how many people jump in. I feel like Melee every single year is like, we've got our established events, and then we've always got, like, someone jumping in. Last year we had Ludwig throwing stuff. Last year we also had the off season randomly just threw something pretty big, right? Like we always have some random thing. It's like, oh, Yahoo Smash rivalries or Four Loco Fight Night on. Like we've always got something. And I just wonder, with everything that happened with Nintendo and Panda and everything like that, I wonder if we're still something that's worth it to jump into. Because all of these people are like losing money when they give us a $15,000 prize pool because they like played it in college, right? So it's going to be an interesting thing to see as to whether or not that is going to continue. Well, I see that we're all. I should have ended it separately. I should have said, I don't know about that, but regionals seem to be hype.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think you make very good points. It's been a dark few months. I kind of like forgot because I've just been playing Donkey Kong. That's how dark the past few months have been in terms of like the Panda and VGBC stuff.
Yeah,
Let's get into Donkey Kong.
Okay. Yeah.
We were talking about regionals.
Let's just go.
Regionals, I think, are a great place for players to get wins that they wouldn't normally. A lot of people out there, if you go to a major, you end up getting seeded outside of top 64. You're probably going to play like two very good players and get eliminated at 65th or 49th or something. And I think that regionals are a really great place for people to get little wins. You look at someone like Blue. Blue didn't beat any top 100 players this past week. It bought me, but beat like a ton of people around his tier. Beat Reeve, beat who else?
You beat Michael. Like that's
beat
still
Michael.
pretty good.
Yeah, it's these types of things where like you might not necessarily see that at a major. But I also, if we're gonna highlight what happened at regionals, there was a regional a couple weeks back where there's a Donkey Kong player who happened to accrue a bit of wins. Junebug.
Why would you side?
It's honestly kind of upsetting. I can't lie. Like that you're just like you're using this power for like a thing that's a bit, but it's not. But it's not a bit. It's like very scary. It's like a horrifying reality.
Eric says I'm the most evil melee player because I just go around using mid tiers, farming people for my YouTube content.
Yeah.
I don't know if I agree, but the optics don't look great for me.
I don't know. I think it's pretty great. You're beating you're beating a top 25 player. Just like it's not even like is it like an MTVA thing or something? Like this region has so many people that just like it's like chilling with the Samus, right? At first it was a really funny thing, and then eventually like he started only playing Samus. And then it became like, wow, I guess Chillin' Samus is just like his best character now. It's pretty good. I feel like this is just like something like inherent to this region of MDVA. I don't know.
My friend Stevie was explaining some like bike scene lore to me, and apparently like if somebody gets really good at biking, they'll like remove the brakes on their bike, so they're like forced to skid brake all the time, and they'll like remove like the speeds from their bike, like how you can get multiple speeds. You get one speed, so you have to pedal really fast for when you want to go faster. And for some reason, I feel like I'm kind of doing that with Melee, where I'm like, oh, this is the thing that's fun for me now because I've just been playing for so long. My old characters just they don't have the same oomph to them, and I just play Donkey Kong for 6 months. And I'm like, this is great.
So let the viewers in on why Donkey Kong. How did you get to this point of your life?
Okay, so normally for the past I guess it's been like 2 years now. The past 2.5 years, I've been playing Melee mid and low tiers, and then comparing them to Project M's version of these characters. So I started with Roy. I played Melee Roy for, I want to say like 4 or 5 months. And then I compared him to PM Roy because this was around the time where Zane was beating everybody with Roy, and people were like, oh, is Roy actually good? And I'm like, well, kinda like, and then I tried to outline like what he has going for him, and this is that video. It's like he's really really good against fast fallers. He's great against fast fallers. Middleweights, floaties, but like he has Mart's stuff. It's just he's got Mart's body. His moves just work like Roy, and then he's got down tilt and F smash, and like he's got some stuff going for him, but he's no Marth. He's just like worse than Marth in every measurable way, except F smashing Pikachu. I don't know if you guys saw Zane's set with it was like Roy versus Axe's Pikachu, where he's just like killing Axe at 60 with Roy F smash, and I was like, wait, is this the counter pick? Back when Zane was just losing to Axe over and over again. So I started with Roy, then I went Ganon, then I went Mewtwo, then I went the Marios, and now I'm on Donkey Kong, or I was. I guess I'm still kind of playing Donkey Kong here and there. So I'm making a video about how Melee Donkey Kong works, and like how his tools are function in the Melee meta, and then how they changed in NPM. And a little teaser, I guess, for the video. He functions very similarly to the way Pikachu does in the meta, where his tools are very, very good against the meta characters. So, like, super good against fast fallers, super good against middleweights. But then you get to the weird characters. You get to some of the floaties. You get to some of the other mid tiers. That's where DK is, like, actually pretty... He can have some problems. But, you know, you give him a bracket full of Foxes and Falcos that he can zero death, then maybe DK doesn't complain as much.
That's so interesting because I feel like for common like before this whole wave of DKs, I felt like the perception was that the fast fall, like that the floaties were tough and the weird characters were a little tough, but that like Falco in particular and Fox were quite hard for D. That used to be the common knowledge, right?
It's interesting because I think one of the many reasons that there's been like a mid-tier, low-tier resurgence is like people are getting really good against spacies. So I think maybe before counterplay in general just wasn't as developed. I think one of the ways you can see this most clearly is just like watching, like I was talking about this with I think Eric the other day. Like back 5-6 years ago, if somebody ledge teched and then recovered, everybody would be like, "Holy shit, what?" And now it's just like an Uncle Punch thing that you could practice.
Yeah, people have come up with counters to beat ledge tech. They're not surprised by it. They're ready.
Yeah, and I think the low and mid tier players they kind of got used to a lot of the spacey stuff. So shout outs to Da, very smart Donkey Kong. Labbed a lot of counterplay. Actually, like taught me a lot. He sent me sent me like a research paper on how Donkey Kong Shield works.
They are very well versed in the Kong.
They've been playing for such for so like not many years too. They came from like the other Smash games or something. It's really incredible.
They're prolific. I will say that much. They've got a very interesting brain. But they sent me this research paper on Donkey Kong Shield, and I learned that Donkey Kong's front-facing shield pretty much like very difficult to power shield a Falco laser with, but backward shield, dashing shield, tilt turn shield. All of a sudden, I'm power shielding Falco lasers at like 60 to 80%. I'm like, when I can power shield their neutral opener and then get a grab and zero death them, this matchup doesn't really seem that bad. And Da's also one of the people that's like, yeah, Donkey Kong destroys Falco. That being said, I still think Fox beats Donkey Kong in Melee, but it's a hard one for Fox where you mess up once, you get grabbed, you do Donkey Kong stuff. I think Donkey Kong is a very good tournament character because like the punish game is potentially one of the most consistent across the cast. Like he just has really good combos against fast fallers, really good combos against middleweights. And then versus floaties, he juggles them for a bit, and he charges punch. And he has a move that kills them at anywhere from 30 to 60. So, like, he has a lot of good things going for him. but I do still think he's a mid tier.
Well, I guess how about this? You have found success playing these characters, right? I think that one of the interesting things about your little um, hmm, uh, dive into the mid tier. Try to find a word that didn't sound mean. your your little dive into the
You
mid
can't be
tiers.
meaner than Eric. It's fine. Called me a cartoon villain.
I I mean, hey, it's just, with Donkey Kong, or is it just you?
This was with at Double Down. I was playing Magi, and
With
Eric was like, "It's funny because Magi is like a very solid player, and Junebug is a cartoon villain that is
Yeah.
standing in her way to top 8."
I see it. I honestly see it. I see you. You have someone tied down to train tracks. You've got a bomb with a with a little wick. I can see it, man.
Yeah.
No. I mean, hey, speaking of Double Down, you found success with these types of characters, and you got top 16 at Double Down with Doc, right?
Yeah.
And then DQ'd to go to Magic Show.
Yeah, awesome.
and
It was
and
awesome.
you've got some pretty good wins with Donkey Kong. I think chief among them being a win over Polish.
Mhm.
So my question is, you have like this is not a unique thing for you to have success with Donkey Kong.
Yeah.
But it feels like a unique thing in the scene as a whole, right? So I
Yeah.
guess why are we seeing Donkey Kong and we're not seeing these other characters? We're not seeing Mewtwo or Roy or Dr. Mario, but we are seeing an explosion of Donkey Kong. Do you have any theories as to why this
Well,
is the year where he really bursts out?
I do think Donkey Kong is better than Mewtwo and Roy. Dr. Mario,
Dr.
I mean,
Mario.
he might. I think he's worse than. I think he is worse than Dr. Mario. But his punish game is definitely better than Dr. Mario's. I would say overall.
Mhm.
It, and there's just been the amount of Donkey Kong players just like Mo just destroying a European online tournament. I think. just
Yeah,
a
that
few
was
days
wild.
ago.
Yeah, that was this week.
I just watched those VODs and he four stocks Abe the first game of winners
Yeah.
finals, and
He beat Sharp also before that in Ricks. That was an
Well, beat
insane
Ricks,
run.
yeah, just beating like some of Europe's best players back to back with Donkey Kong, very very impressive. We had Rishi's Donkey Kong. I mean, he hasn't been entering events with Donkey Kong, but he terrorizes ranked and unranked. He beat, I think he beat Aklo unranked. He beat Slug in Donkey Kong Ices in ranked,
Jeez.
which is not a good matchup for Donkey Kong. I think it's one of his hardest matchups.
Doesn't DK have to like cargo throw but jump off stage and toss?
You do
Nana.
really weird stuff. To
Yeah,
Nana.
he's got like a weird anti-Nana game.
But yeah, it's hard to grab the character that doesn't get grabbed, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just confused as to. So we went into 2022, right? We went into 2022. Didn't really seem like there was going to be any Donkey Kongs in the near future. And then suddenly Ringler starts to accrue some wins, right? We know Ringler's good. Prior to this year, he took a set of Zamu. He's done some stuff at SoCal. In SoCal, of course, he's always taking people close. But we come into the year not really thinking it's going to be a Donkey Kong year, and come out going like, wow, we had a player who was almost top 100. And it felt like this huge step for this character. And now we are going into 2023. And it feels so different that even, like, where we are now, 2 months in, almost 3 months into 2023, feels so extremely different than what it felt like 2 months ago. Like, December feels so much different than it does from February, because what's changed since then is that, even if you don't continue to play Donkey Kong, you found success with Donkey Kong. Quang got top 64 at Genesis. He beat Bobby Big Balls. I believe he beat Calvar as well. What else? We've got
We got Akir.
Donkey
Akir.
Kong has been going crazy on ranked. We saw Da ended up beating what's his
Mac
face?
in that first
Mac. I kind of
Yeah.
remember Mac. We saw Da beat Mac. We saw Kira beat Mac. Like, what has changed? Does anyone have an answer, or does this all just is this just a confluence that was going to happen? The Mayans talked about this years ago that 2023
Yeah, I
is going to
think
be the year of DK.
I think it's a byproduct of Joe Biden's America.
Okay,
And let me explain what I mean by that. I think
I'd love you too.
yes, thank you. I think we're just in an era where let's talk about what happened in December, right? I think in December was just like it was such a consequential month for Smash in general, right? We enter this period of time where we expect to see the finale of these two very big circuits that we believe are going to be in the scene like for long term if we can get it right. And I feel like there was both a letdown in terms of just how everything worked out and the professional implications of it and everything. But I also think that like we sort of did enough to make up for it with as much as we could, right? So main stage was really big. We had Scuff World Tour. We sort of like we still had a very big month, like regardless of that. But I feel like we never really had time to like fully process what had happened, right? And I think heading from that into Genesis, it was just a lot. And I think something with Donkey Kong, what I've noticed with him, right? This is something that I've noticed, especially with Donkey Kong more than other characters. I feel like he's there for you in terms of trauma. I feel like there's something in terms of his aesthetic. It's just like this great big goofy character.
He just
like,
wants to give you a hug.
Yeah, he wants to give you a hug. He wants to grab you, but he wants to defend his friends, like going out and smacking people with his forward tilt or whatever. He'll protect himself with his like little down B or whatever. I think there's something about the aesthetic of Donkey Kong and what it represents to people that I think is just very comforting in times of uncertainty. And in times when like maybe it hits you that like some things that bothered you in the past that you thought you got over, maybe you felt like you never had time to process it really. And I think DK is just like a very reassuring, like just as a figure himself, right? He's very big. He's kind of like he's smiling, like he's got a little bit of mischief behind him, so he's not like quite a standard textbook hero. But I think there's something about like the aesthetic of DK and what he represents and he's got enough like complete-ish tools. Like he's not an amazing character, but he's got stuff.
The
right?
tools that he has, his functional tools are very good.
Yeah,
the like 4 or 5 things he can do are very, very good.
Yeah, and I just think like what he represents and sort of what he like what he's it's sort of like playing DK has become this thing. It's like a little like everyone's huddling together, like playing DK or whatever. You got Chicago making videos on how much the region loves DKs. You got Marth players with DKs that are somehow as good as their Marth or whatever. Multiple of them, Rishi and Akir. It's kind of crazy. I just feel like we're kind of in a DK era. You don't see this with Young Link. Yeah, I know Rocket made top 100. Young Link's not going to comfort you. You think Ganon is going to comfort you? Yeah, don't get me started with Ganon. You think like Mewtwo is there? No, Mewtwo's kind of aloof. Roy is living in a like he's a
prince.
He's Prince. He doesn't understand the working man's plight. I feel like DK understands it.
Yeah,
he's
using his hands. I do think maybe DK is just the manifestation of all of Wheat's fears, and he's here to come kill Melee. He's just the absurdist monkey king that will come and bring Melee to its
I was
knees.
a DK hater for a long time. I won't lie. I hated him for a long time.
He's a funny character. I hate him in PM,
yeah.
But I think he's very funny in Melee compared. I feel like if I started with Melee, I'd be like, oh man, this character is kind of dumb. But because I've seen the horrors of PM Donkey Kong, I'm like, yeah, Melee Donkey Kong's funny. His tie is a hurt box. This is fun.
So, Edwin, I think that you have a very good theory, right? I think what it is it is a theory. But maybe, truth is stranger than fiction. So what happened? When did we really start to see the Donkey Kongs? You mentioned after Smash World Tour and Panda, right? Is it possible that the reality in which we live is fractured from the moment of Smash World Tour? Does it sound like something that would happen? Does this sound familiar to you? Is that we have 2 super majors that are about to happen, and they both just at the drop of a hat, they both get canceled, and then suddenly, me and you are making the top 100, and then J-Mook wins a super major, and guess what? All these DKs, they're all doing well, and I like DK. I like J-Mook. Me doing the top 100? That sounds cool. I'd like that. So I have to wonder,
How many
am
more
I in a
years should we
coma?
do?
Did I go into a coma as I was about to leave for Smash World Tour? And is this just my my fever dream? The Eagles made it to the Super Bowl. My coma apparently couldn't make us win. But like, life has been seeming to go well for me recently, outside of me, my like personal emotions, which have been torrid. So maybe, you know, at what point do you snap out of it and realize what's reality? I'm understanding the Matrix a lot more. Edwin, what pill did I take?
I think that if there are potential cracks in the mirror or in the or glitches in the system or whatever, I think it will be when the DKs start getting. I mean, I don't know, June. What's the character that like Reeler said he doesn't like playing against Jigglypuff as DK?
Falcon, Jigglypuff,
Falcon,
Ice
Jigglypuff.
Climbers, Luigi.
Maybe we throw Eddie Mexico in some DK brackets, or we put Aklo. It's Aklo's Link in some of them.
Oh yeah,
You know.
that sounds miserable.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Like that just came off the top of my head. I'm not gonna pretend like
wait,
I know.
Link
what
won a regional.
Oh my god.
Edwin, none of this makes sense.
Link dead ass.
Yeah, he did win a regional. Jeez, wow. He defended.
You went to Disney World and you were crying.
He defended the regional from Marth.
None of this
mind,
makes sense.
I want to get out of here. I need to get back. We need to get back in the real world.
Get me back. H-Box winning majors. I'll take it.
I also this is a bit of DK pessimism because I have to stop playing the character eventually, and that's where the pessimism comes in.
Well, yeah, I guess. Are you completely done with DK? You know, I think you've been kind of a forefront, a front runner in this movement, whether or not you wanted to be, and it seems like this was pretty part and parcel with the way that you interact with the game now, right? You know, you weren't like, it wasn't a political moment when you played Dr. Mario, but now suddenly you're playing Donkey Kong and everyone's like, he's supporting us. He's supporting the Donkey Kong cause. Do you feel like you need to continue this, or are you going to kind of move along like you normally would?
Well, I was gonna just move along, and then I got a DM from an interesting person, and they said, you know, you go to 3 or 4 more tournaments this year, you could get top 100.
What a schemer! Who do we know like that?
What's better content than being the first Donkey Kong in the top 100?
I will say, I think you could quote me on this now. I think there will be at least 2 Donkey Kongs on the top 100 this year. I think Quang will be on it. I think Akir will be on it, for sure, if they go to tournaments. And if I continue to attend tournaments, maybe I could get on there as well. But I will say that I've been having a lot of fun with Donkey Kong, more so than my other characters. I had a lot of fun with Ganon, but I played Ganon a lot in PM, so it wasn't like a new feeling for me. And PM Ganon is a lot better than Melee Ganon, so I had more fun with PM Ganon. So Melee Donkey Kong is just like fit like a glove, and I was so surprised that it worked that way. And now I can't play Young Link, so things just the universe, for some reason, just wants me to play Donkey Kong more for Wheat's theory that this is all just a coma dream. I have no agency. I have to play Donkey Kong so I can make top 100 for Wheat.
Melee is all just a figment of my imagination. But
yeah, I was going to say that one thing. I think people will start to learn the matchup a little more. Both Polish, I think, didn't know the matchup as well as they could have. And Polish is I've played Polish across, or just with multiple characters for, you know, I forget when they started coming to MDVA tournaments, but I want to say since 2016. Um, so I had like a lot of experience versus them as a player, specifically, and they didn't have a lot of DK experience, but they definitely were cooking me in a lot of interactions. So I think once people learn how the character works, what his strengths, what his weaknesses are, you might see his space on the tier list normalize a little. And then once you get the Donkey Kong's bad matchups thrown at them, you can see where he struggles a bit more too.
Well, before we move on to the last big segment, I guess let's push you on that question. Where is Donkey Kong on the tier list?
I would say he's similar to Pikachu.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah. Where's
Now,
Pikachu?
where's Pikachu?
let me look at the tier list real quick.
Pikachu's
I
like
believe
ninth.
Pikachu is ninth on the current tier list.
Oh my
Yeah,
god,
Pikachu
really?
might be above Yoshi.
Below or
Dang.
above Yoshi, I think, which probably would not be something that if we made it today, right? If
No,
Yoshi
yeah.
came out
I
today.
think Yoshi's better than Pikachu. I would say, maybe. Ooh,
Is
but
DK
then
better than Luigi?
What about Samus?
Oh,
Is DK better than Samus?
Samus DK is kind of hard.
We will probably have more DK representatives than Samus representatives.
it's weird
on this
because
top 100.
I feel like DK does bad against like Samus and Luigi and Dr. Mario and Ice Climbers. Yoshi and Pikachu, I actually don't know much about. But like the top tiers, he's looking okay. But like Luigi, Dr. Mario, Ice Climbers, it's weird. That's why he's like kind of like Pikachu.
Give me a number.
I'm gonna put him above Ganon.
Where's
I'm gonna
that?
say
What is that?
14.
14. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I was looking at the tier list recently because I was thinking,
Does he beat Ganon?
with all that's going on with DK, what's the tier list going to look like, right? You know, generally it's taken years before we've changed tier lists, and it's like usually like pretty big differences in how we view the game. It's like, oh, Marth's really good, or like Puff is actually better than we thought. And I looked at it, I'm like, everything's basically the same except for Yoshi, and then you get to DK, it's like, wow, yeah, it is funny how if you were to make like a rolling tier list, if you asked every single top 100 player a couple months ago, I think DK would probably not be too high. And right now, yeah, I think DK 14. I think is an interesting spot for DK. I like it.
Yeah,
I'm
I
down.
had to put it right above Ganon.
I am down, and I hope that we can finally put that matter to rest. I think, is that SmashCon? Is that where we're seeing the epic battle?
I think that is the current plan. Mo wants to come to that, and I think if Mo comes, it'll be overkill.
We went over kind of what it would look like in the Melee Stats Discord. We talked about like who could possibly go, and I think I have a lot of ideological differences with Ganon mains, but like they're gonna get destroyed. I want to be clear from an objective standpoint. They are going to get destroyed because if you are in, you know, you've proven that you're very good. If Rishi's allowed in, he obviously has a very amazing DK. Quang. If Mo goes, my God, gee,
Akir.
Literally forgetting Akir.
Yeah, it's like who do we even put in as their
We didn't say the guy who almost made top 100 this year, which is Ringler.
Oh, Ringler too, right? Yeah, and I will say Ringler has pioneered so many different DK things. I learned how to spam up B from Ringler, and that's when I learned that DK's up B is like a top 10 move. That move just beats everything. It's crazy. But yeah, no, Ringler would do work on that.
Well, I hope that we are able to finally put this to rest when it comes. But until then, we will have to just, figure out what's going on with DK. We'll have to see people like yourselves and the other pioneers of the monkey, see how far we can take it.
I do want to mention one final thing that this DK versus Ganon crew battle reminds me of. that I don't think will turn out in favor of the villainish side, because I do remember, unfortunately, one of my favorite crew battles of all time from 10 years ago, the Lynx versus the Stinks at Apex 2013. Not many people remember this crew battle, and if you don't remember this crew battle, I don't really blame you, because it was basically a bunch of Link players versus a bunch of mains for villainous characters, and the villains won, and their crew battle was really boring. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it'll be boring this time, but I suspect the way our things are turning out right now, I think we may see a similar result for the DKs over the Ganons if things as they are right now stay on the same path.
We'll see.
Yeah,
I if Nunn's going, which I heard that he has interest, he is a very big wild card.
it really depends on their roster. I
Mech
think.
has
Yeah.
been improving with Ganon,
Mm-hmm.
and if you give him if it's SmashCon, you give him another 6 months, and that does
I'm
sound a little
sure.
scary, right?
Yeah, I'm sure
Mech with 6 more months of Ganon practice.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see it, but obviously that's going to be a little out in the future. But in the near future, we are going to be talking about an event that is probably going to be won by a more traditional character. There's no real mid tiers here, especially now that Axe has dropped out due to some illness. We're going to be talking about BEMI. So this is the third BEMI overall, I believe. The first two are online. This is the first time that we're going to be seeing an in-person BEMI, which is going to be pretty insane. So for those who don't know, BEMI is something that is run by Homemade Waffles. It is the Black Empowerment Melee Invitational. It has been it's been one of the more interesting events, one of the more cool events that we've seen from definitely just like what it means to the scene, right? What it means and what it means for Brandon to run it. We've had him on to talk about it. I think it's a very important event, but also I think that talking about how important it is maybe undercuts just how entertaining it is. The group of players that he's gotten for this are consistently entertaining, and that group, we saw the first one. It really did feel like a group that we were able to grow with in a way, if that makes any sense. A lot of the players who are in that continue to get better, and now we are going to have an event which it has Toussaint, fresh off of a top 8 at Genesis. It has Salt, who, when Salt was first in the event, was definitely not the Salt that we're about to see right now. We've got Lowercase Hero, who just beat Fat Goku, right? We've got Lunary. Like, we've got all these different players who it's like really one of these events that has turned out to be something that I look forward to every time February comes around. So we've got a good group of characters here. We got a good group of players, and June, I don't know if you know much about it, but we've got a pretty strong cast here. Who do you like in this group right here? Is there anyone in particular that catches your eye as someone who's like maybe going to make a deep run, or someone who's maybe going to win it all?
I'm looking at the invited players now. Okay, Toussaint Pro, Shrew. I mean, Toussaint Salt pops out at me immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Toussaint's been going on a tear lately. Beat AMSA at Genesis. Also, has the Junebug coaching power up. Salt, oh my god, she's just been playing so well lately. I loved her run at the coin box.
Yeah.
Beat H-Box, beat Hacks. It's just beat Ginger. Yeah, it's playing really hot. It was super funny to see her banter with Bobby during the whole bracket. And Prof, of course, by PM, homie. It's crazy just... I feel like he has such a unique Fox style. And I like to see him compete a lot. It's very fast, very reactive. I mean, off the top of my head, I'm like, Toussaint, Salt, they're definitely gonna be up there. But like, I would love to see some upsets, and There are just a lot of good players. I mean, Shroom. We saw Shroom just randomly do well.
Yeah.
Is it random? I feel like this is just
It's
like,
not random.
yeah,
He's just good.
Shroom. He's
Yeah.
always gonna be good.
He's always gonna be good. And then we have the qualifiers. Prom, Malachi, Daryl, lowercase hero. Prom and Malachi both very, very solid MDVA. Yeah, I think Prom makes Ganon look very good, and then Malachi is the best bad player in the world. He's perfect show grabs, perfect downholes. Like he plays in the best worst way.
June. I think all these players are very good. I think a ton of them have been good for a while. I think lowercase hero, especially with a very big win over Fat Goku this year, is certainly someone to look out for. But I think the secret hero of this tournament is the guy who won it last year, Billy motherfucking Bo Peep. I think that guy's Fox is so good. It's one of those things where it's like, you may think you know the story of Billy Bo Peep, right? You may see his name on a 2019 top 100 and see, oh, this guy was like top 100, this guy was ranked 51 or like 52. Let me tell you something about Billy Bo Peep. Billy Bo Peep, over the pandemic, and seemingly, like not really caring very much about his actual like tournament attendance. He went to a couple, or he played in some delay based events before rollback, and then shortly after rollback came back, he really just did not seem very interested in playing a lot or attending a lot. And then BEMI 2022, he goes on a massive losers run, beating top 100 players that would be top 100 if they were more active and qualified, and just absolutely opens a can of whoop ass on Flash in 2 sets. Who is another person attending this tournament, I might add, who has, if you've ever seen any clips of Flash or talked to SP99, you'll know that Flash basically, I guess he just has a contractual obligation to stunt on top 50 players effortlessly in friendlies and practice sessions with them. So
there's always a GIF out there.
Yeah.
So, like SP99 Falco Wizard it will always post a GIF of the most perfect lasers against whatever favorite player of yours. Mention any player in top 50. There's probably a GIF out there of Flash doing the nastiest shit.
Yeah, Flash hits like a
lasers.
Yeah, and for whatever, and it's not like he's hitting clips that are totally meaningless, right? Like he's hitting clips that you see the stock count and it's like, huh. I wonder why Wizrobe is down 1 stock to Flash's 3, or why is I'm just naming a random player, like why is Lod down 2 stocks against Flash? This is very interesting.
I've seen those clips. I've seen the Giphy cats. Really makes you wonder what happened there, because we've seen a lot of right. There's a
Lod,
combo
don't get
video.
mad at me. I just use your name randomly. I don't actually care.
There's a combo video that I watched with Chroma and Ambi recently, which was Shroom's old combo video, which features some horrible combos. Some where it doesn't
Old
even
combo videos are so funny.
it's not even like I'm not even gonna be like, this isn't actually true, right? It's just like dropped combos and then they pick it up after like 30 minutes or 30 minutes after 30 seconds of neutral. It's like, that, don't put that in your combo video. And yeah, what was funny is that like every single one of those, for some reason, Shroom just always down. It's like, what type of combo video is this? That would not be Flash. If Flash ever had a combo video, Flash would be up in every single one of those games. He is a menace for sure. And it's an event like this that is really great, that draws people like Flash out, like Billy, BEMI, and Brandon in general have done an incredible job at giving these players kind of a centralized place. We really haven't seen Flash much. What, Riptide 2021 didn't see Flash at all last year, but what this represents is kind of a little more important, right? If you were to think about attending an event, we talked about buyer's market, seller's market. It really feels like it does not even belong in the same talks as a normal major, right? Because what this this is so much more important. So I want to see how that affects these players, because we've seen some players like really show out because of what the event is. Shroom did well last year. I think Shroom ended up getting third. We talked about Shroom. It's like pretty wild card. But like that's definitely a different situation at an event like this. And Billy, yeah, I literally don't like what we saw Billy at a Texas regional. Before that, I don't know the last time we saw him. If we saw him, it was probably delay based. If we saw him offline, it was probably in 2019. So having a spot for players who are not as active is really amazing, and it leads to some pretty insane match possibilities. And I want to bring up a player who I mentioned when we brought it up. If we're talking about players who have not been to many things at all, Lunary Super Smash Flash 2 is a player who I think embodies this more than anyone else. June, do you know who Lunary is?
No.
So Lunary is, I think on their most recent PR, which is probably a little outdated, he is the second best Belgian player. I believe he'd be over Faradit right now if there were to be a Belgian PR. But he is a Belgian player. He is a Marth with a secondary Falcon, which basically seems as good as Marth. Name of the game is Stunting. Very quick, very just it does not even seem like it would be the option to go to in any situation. Those types of players where you're like, why would you do this? But it always seems to work out. It's like those cartoons where there's like a baby and they're like crawling and they don't realize that there's all these like bookcases falling. Like he will do like the most insane dares for some reason, just like in neutral. He'll just like run at you and dare as Marth. It's not that unusual if it's Falcon.
Yeah,
Maybe I should be clear.
Okay. Run up there. Wow. Huh.
Wow. I mean, Falcon does that, huh? No, it's he had some sets this past year at a Dutch event where he looked really good, and he was at a regional, or sorry, he was at a local. I'm like IBW. I think locals and regionals are the same thing. He was at a local straight after, came directly from the airport when he got here, and he went to a Georgia local. He 3-0'd Ostentatious, the Georgia Sheik. He 3-1'd him in losers. It just looked weird. He was stunting on him, man. So yeah, he's gonna definitely be an interesting person to watch. He got a frenzy win last year at one of his few events that he went to. So he's definitely this untapped potential. Someone who he really, we haven't seen, even on the level of, European players, right? We talked about, Mo. We haven't seen Mo in America, but he's been doing really well in Europe. Even to that extent, he's not been that active in Europe, probably because of inability to travel. So the fact that he's here at all is insane. So if I were a Fox player, or a Falco player or something in this bracket, I'd be a little scared, because he definitely looks like someone who could clean up.
I'm just looking at the 2022 bracket, and I just can't believe that Billy Bo Peep just cleared house.
Billy, by the way, won me like $600 through that run.
I don't want to get to that. You quoted yourself. You quote retweeted the BEMI. I think it was the BEMI was like, congratulations to Billy Bo Peep. You quote retweeted it through the Melee Stats account, and then quoted yourself from your Monday Morning Marth article.
It was such a baller move. And let me tell you
I
why.
actually don't think it was a baller move to make the Black Empowerment Melee Invitational about you.
No, it's good to celebrate your prediction. It's actually supportive if you think about it.
No, I actually think that you should have let them have this one.
It is wild that he was in losers at the beginning of top 12 and just literally won the tournament.
Do you want to know something even crazier than that, Junebug?
Sure.
The fact that I bet on every single Billy Bo Peep set.
Yeah, I think you're a crazy person.
And I won every single bet. It was actually funny because after the fifth set, people were like scared of me and like not taking bets.
They're like,
against
there's no way he keeps winning, right? Right?
Well, congratulations, Edwin. Clearly, you were the winner of BEMI
Congratulations
2022.
Yeah, thank
to
you,
Edwin
thank you.
Budding for winning the Black Empowerment
Black- yeah.
Invitational
So,
2023.
surprised that you didn't get an invite to this one.
How much
Yeah,
does
maybe
the
I got
winner
into
get? Did
photography.
Edwin make more than the winner?
Maybe.
Oh God.
I want to talk about Billy Bo Peep though, because I think he is a great pick. You know, he won this one last year. He is someone who I don't
that
remember
Pikachu
really.
phase. Remember, he was going Pikachu. It's like, why is he doing this?
Hey, we all were. We all of us were going Pikachu at some point. It's a natural progression in life. I got to see him at Genesis. I saw him and I was like, what the? You're here?
Billy,
You're not in bracket. I got to talk to him and he's a very personable guy. It was very fun. It was me and Ambi were there. And I said, I think you've been brainwashed by Drug Fox. I think your view of what beautiful Melee is impossible to have in bracket. You know, I was like trying to wake him up. And we were talking, and I said, look, Billy, I would love to see you in bracket again. I know you're going to BEMI, but I think that it should continue from there. I offered him, I said, here's your incentive. If you win a Verdugo, I will give you $10. And then I remembered he hasn't lived in SoCal anymore. He hasn't lived there for 3 years. So I go, okay, if you win a Verdugo, you'll get $10. If you win a 2 Monday Night Melees in a row, you will also get $10. And I said, if that isn't enough, Ambi will also give you $10. He did not agree to this, but he got thrown in. So if anyone wants to give money to the pot, we are putting $10 in. We are going to create a big pot for Billy Bo Peep, because I truly believe that he is someone who is able to, you look at these regions. I think he's able to be one of the best players in the regions. Even if you look at DFW, SFOP, Salt, Bobby, Big Paul's, SDJ, one of the strongest regions in Melee, I think there's no reason why Billy should be smack dab in the middle of that, if not at the top of that. He is such an insanely impressive player, and I hope that we get to see it from this. Edwin, is he your pick for who's going to win it overall?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Billy.
Wow. June, do you have a choice for who's going to take home the gold here?
I gotta be biased. I'm just gonna say Toussaint.
Toussaint
Yeah.
is a good pick. Yes. Do you now that you know Billy's so good, maybe you're gonna go watch some VODs?
Yeah.
Give you some advice.
Hey, Toussaint. just maybe watch out for this one guy.
Man, I think that there's a couple cool picks here, and then there's a pick that I just keep coming back to. So Flash and Billy Bo Peep are like, people who were made grand finals last time, and both of them are players we don't get to see much of, and yet every time we do, it seems like they are pretty insane. And for Flash, it always seems like we're hoping that this is the start of the big breakout, right? And if Riptide ends up being the blip, that'll be a pretty sad thing, because they are so incredibly talented. So, like, I look at him and I'm like, I hope this is going to be the one. I hope he wins this one. I hope he continues to go to stuff. But I am having trouble picking him, because every time I think about, well, maybe Flash will win, maybe Toussaint will win, maybe Billy will win, I have to come back to a player who Edwin and I talked about a couple months ago. Edwin and I were talking about this new crop of top 50-ish players, and we're talking about whether or not they are going to continue to rise, if they're going to fall, if they're going to not be on top 50. And I said, Edwin, it feels weird, right? It feels weird that, like, Mech is a bona fide top 50 player now. And I said, you know what doesn't feel weird? There's, of all the people who had made top 50 that past year, the person who seems like they are not only going to stay in there, but going to go up, and that they, like, truly belong in that tier, is Salt. Salt is a player who, for years, has been really great. But when I look at her play, I mean, it's flashy. It's all over the place, right? It's like amazing to watch, but it's also just something that I look at and I'm like, yeah, she is going to continue to be good for a while. This is only the beginning that we're going to see from Salt. So I look at everyone here, and I think that this is going to be an incredibly tough bracket. You've got so many killers out there. That's not even to say, like, we didn't mention KJH, who has been actually doing pretty solid. Ended up, like, 3-0ing Lucky at Coinbox this week, right? I know Moki said that that KJH's Falco was one of the harder things he had to deal with at Genesis. We haven't mentioned Professor Pro or The Real Thing. We haven't mentioned all these people who have been very, very good recently. But yeah, I mean, if I look at this event, I have to go with my heart pick here, and I think Salt comes away with a victory here.
Yeah, I think she's a great pick. I've been a pretty big fan of Salt for a while, and I think one of the really big indicators for Salt is that, like, if you talk to any of, like, the top 10 or 11 that have played her, they've been like, oh yeah, like, Salt is going to be making super major top 8s in a year. Like, yeah, it's just going to happen. Like, it's the kind of, like, statement that you might have heard people say about, like, Wizro when he was coming up, or, like, even Amsa, frankly, or Zane or IBW. I think Salt she has this, like, electrifying factor to her, right? Where it's like, even when her game was not like as complete or like where it is today, she was still, like, winning a lot of sets over players like beneath her caliber of play at the time, like, quite dominantly and consistently, and she was taking people above her to game 5 or outright beating them, which I think is typically, like, if when you're looking at rising players in a short period of time, that's a great sign that
one of the fastest Falcons I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's
and
wild.
that's a really high bar. There's some fast,
a lot of fast
Falcons.
Falcons.
The character's fast.
I've never seen anyone play like Salt.
Dude, I cannot imagine being SDJ. And SDJ does well, but you have to play you imagine going to your local. It's Monday. Everyone hates Mondays. You go to sorry, little Garfield moment I just had. You go to your Monday local, and you sit down, and it's like, okay, who's it going to be? Bobby Big Balls, Salt, or SFOP? Which one of these, like, 5,000 APM players am I going to have to play this week?
Insanely correct.
Yeah, it is really. I wonder if there's something about, like, playing. Do you think they all just, like, came up together at the high APM, or is it nature versus nurture for high APM players? Like, the likelihood of 3 just incredibly, like, 3 of the fastest Foxes, like, fastest Fox, Falco, and Falcon, respectively, just happen to be in Texas playing each other all the time.
True.
What is that? What is that?
Maybe it's something in the water out there.
Yeah.
It's a government testing site near. All their fingers work way faster than they should.
I want some of that water, man. I'm trying to be the fastest.
My guess is the oil companies.
Ooh.
It's something in the oil. Or something in the oil. Oil.
Oh.
It's
Oh.
Oh.
There you go. Well, I think that BEMI is going to be an incredibly interesting event. And
3 great picks. I like all our
three
picks.
great
Honestly.
picks. This is an event where I honestly, like, there's so many people who I wish we could pick, right? The fact
Fucking
that none of us,
Shroomed is gonna win it.
none of us said Shroom, none of us said Flash.
Yeah, KJH is so solid. It's wild that he's still so solid, It's just like, his fundamentals are so good.
Yeah, hearing both of you, like, convinced me, and then I said Billy again, and I got convinced. And then I heard what Wheat had to say, was convinced. This is such an awesome event.
Yeah,
it tends to, when we do these previews, and this obviously was not as, like, big of a preview as we would with, like, Genesis, but it tends to feel there's a different feeling to it, right? We'll go like, I guess IBW is gonna win, or like, I think it's gonna be Zane, right? It feels like we're making statements with our picks. Like, when it's like, oh, well, I could pick Mango, but, like, I actually think that it says more if I, stuff like that. No, like, this is legit an event where this is, like, a bona fide, just fun event to talk about. Not that Genesis isn't, but there's a different feeling here. I mean, the players are obviously not at, like, super major contention level, but everyone here is so strong, and the depth of talent is so wide and deep, and like, I think how many players here who, like, are top 100, how many players here can make top 100? it's just like such an insanely stacked event, and one that I am really gonna look forward to watching this weekend.
This is like a super regional, and I love
Yeah.
regionals because it's like
I
all
could
these
see-
players would just win their own regional, right?
I could
But
see
Yeah.
Toussaint literally 3-0ing everybody in top 8, or like losing 1-3 to Prometheus. Like
Yeah,
it's just insane group
Well,
of players with
June,
with
that's on
result
you.
ranges.
Make sure they don't
We
lose.
don't talk about Ganon. Shit.
Yeah, it's like the most insane. That you have so many volatile players also with just like a massive range of possible results. I think Toussaint's a pretty like funny example of this. Like just a very interesting player to like that. But yeah, I totally concur with what Wheat's saying. I think it's just such a genuinely exciting field with like no additional There's no like. Yeah, I totally agree with what he's saying. Like, sometimes when you make a prediction on a super major, it's like, what are you trying to communicate? Like, what is your view, right? This is just, you have a bunch of good-ass players that can all beat
Spin
each
a
other.
wheel. Spin a wheel
Yeah.
because whoever it lands on is probably about as good as a pick as if you just made one yourself. Yeah, super strong event. Cannot wait to watch this. But before we let everyone go, before we get there, June, we've got some questions for you. We've got some questions from our patrons. I know there is a push and pull that we talk about our saying, oh, questions were bad this week, questions were good this week. We actually had some pretty good questions. A lot of them I think that we kind of talked about during the show. A lot about like if you're going to continue playing Donkey Kong, stuff about how you view mid tiers and stuff like that. I think a lot of the stuff that we hit on. So sometimes your questions are too good, patrons, and we actually use them during the show. So the idea is to not be bad, but also not be too good. And we'll see if the other questions this week were able to, because I think we got some good ones. So the first one we have is from one of the TOs who's running BEMI. It's from Jade. So Jade asks, what's your favorite type of chair?
What's my favorite type of chair?
What's your favorite type of chair?
I've never been asked that. Right now, I have this is a Herman Miller. I got it.
No.
I got it at a thrift store. It is like, it's a old metal Herman Miller that's like, I think it would go for a couple $100, but I got it for 20. So
Let's go. Dude, when this question was asked, why am I looking like Garfield? Sorry, I read the chat for 1 second. I'm looking like Garfield too? Okay, sorry. When this question was asked, I was like, wow, I've never heard this question. And I was wondering if you're going to answer with some badass shit like a Herman Miller. And not only did you, it's because you're sitting on one right now. That's insane.
yeah. But I am like infamously cheap, or like I struggle with spending money on myself. And thrifting a Herman Miller is probably the only way I would ever obtain it.
Maybe you're in a coma right now. Finding a Herman Miller at a thrift store, that's how you know you're in a coma.
Yeah, it was a great find.
Edwin, what? I think we got another one, right?
Yeah, we got one from Danger. Junebug, creepies or crawlies? Follow up. Thoughts on critters?
Creepies or crawlies?
All right, I gotta say, I hate this question, and I'm gonna tell you why. I know this is a question for Junebug, but I need to share a really awful experience I had. Okay.
Okay.
If
Wow,
for
this is kind of
anyone,
like how you made BEMI about yourself.
yeah, similar. But this is is it higher stakes, lower stakes? I can't really tell.
This is lower
Point-
stakes for sure.
I think it's lower stakes.
Yeah,
I think you gotta call it lower stakes.
Yeah.
Talking about creepies and crawlies and
Fair.
coolies. I don't
Yeah,
know what the
fair
fuck
enough.
this is.
So, if you ever go to Disney World by any chance,
Oh,
do
fine.
not go on the Bugs Life ride. Just don't do it. It's the most cruel experience I've ever put myself through. It's really awful. It's really mean spirited. But if you know any like children who are really annoying and you happen to be on a trip with them, take them to that ride.
Did they like heckle you? Is it like one of those restaurants where you go in and they're like, "Hey, I'll go. What do you want?"
So
One of
it's
those.
misleading, right? Because you'd think it's supposed to be for like children, but it's a virtual ride. Okay, so you're basically in like a theater. You get like a 3D goggles or whatever.
Oh, I remember those. I
But
didn't do a Bugs Life one, but I did like a Terminator one when I went to Universal once.
yeah, so, and they got like special effects around you, right? So like the seats in front of you blow air in your face and
Yeah,
stuff.
4D.
Yeah, yeah, 4D. I guess that's it or whatever, right? I don't
I
know what
just
the
remember
term
the
for.
Spy Kids movie when doing shit like that. When they were
Yeah, so
making old Spy
basically
Kids.
the long story short is like it got a bunch of bugs like shoot stuff out at you like with 3D, but like because of the fans or whatever in front of you, you get all the stink and you get all the like smell and
They're
like
actually shooting real bugs at you too.
yeah, real bugs. That's what it
Ew.
feels like. And they even have a segment where like where basically they tell you at the end like, oh, like make way for your bug friends and for the cockroaches to get out, and they have like something in the seats that makes it feel like bugs are crawling all over you for sitting down. It was one of the most unpleasant experiences I've
Wow.
ever had. So I hate
Well,
bugs. That's
it
So
all.
seems
yeah, I
like
guess
it.
to answer your question,
Yeah.
crawlies. Wait, what are creepies?
Don't think about it too much.
Okay,
Can
creepies.
you say it like
and then-
Josh, man? Say it like Josh would say it.
No.
Creepies or crawlies.
I
That's
can
not
only
even-
say
Okay.
no in an Australian.
This
accent.
question.
No.
No.
Okay, Danger.
No.
Arr.
You have been banned from this part of the episode for the next 2 weeks. Luckily, I think that we're a bi-weekly podcast, so it's really only for one
yeah, so
episode.
they'll be back pretty soon.
but 2 week ban. I do not want to see any more Danger questions. But thank you for submitting it. Next one we have. This one probably will be a hopefully a little more serious and maybe one that Edwin won't just hijack. But this one's from Stock Money. So Stock asks, how many characters in the Melee cast do you see yourself being able to top 64 major with?
Oh. Okay. Here's the thing. If I was like really good at planning long term, I would have picked the really bad characters first. But because I have so many bottom of the barrel characters left, like I got Bowser, I got Kirby, I got Pichu. I don't think like. I mean, maybe I discovered something crazy, but
Pichu did it last year.
with Dr. Mario, who is way better than Bowser, Kirby, Pichu. So I don't know. I feel like I could do it maybe with the mid tiers if I like found the connection with them.
Well, there's 26 characters in the game,
26.
right? I think it's probably for a player. If you're a Caliber, it's probably easier to knock off the ones that wouldn't be able to do it with, and then go down from there. So what you say? No Kirby, no Bowser, no Pichu. You don't feel confident in that.
Uh-huh.
So we're at 23.
Damn, you don't think you do it? I think you do it, Pichu.
Ness?
Pichu is hard. Actually, maybe Pichu's really fast, right? I feel like Pichu might be doable. Maybe Ness is hard. Zelda has 2 good moves. Those are 2 really good moves. Mewtwo Roy, dude, my Mewtwo and Roy were really fire.
I'm
When I
hearing
was
like
playing it.
22.
Yeah, tell me who it's a hard no for.
Yeah, I guess 22 maybe.
22. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling 22.
Wait, so what are the ones that you're saying no to?
Oh
Ness
wait,
and-
Young Link too, because my hands can't handle it.
Ah, okay.
Okay, so Young Link.
21.
No Kirby, Bowser, Ness, Young Link. Wait, is that 22 or 21? No Kirby, Bowser, Ness, Young Link.
22.
Pichu may be doable. So that's 22.
Okay, we're back to 22.
22.
Good answer. Edwin, what about you?
Maybe if you give me like a DQ here or there,
Yeah.
1.
You got some legacy wins.
Yeah, give me like a DQ here. Like,
Maybe,
like 2
like-
of them.
Maybe Dawson's still afraid of you from all the way back at
Doubt
Gang
it.
2. And you play him and he harkens back to that set and he loses.
Yeah, I don't think any of the top 100 players that I beat right before they got very good are losing to me now.
We'll see, man. All I know is that I watched Zuppy play both Grab and Abe at Riptide when we sponsored those players to go. And Zuppy beat both of them. And I know that you have not had the same experience as Zuppy.
Dang, let's go, Edwin.
I guess that is true. It's kind of like when Tafo beat Cody Schwab right before Cody blew.
Tafo,
Cody Schwab.
Why do I keep doing
I
this?
don't want you to say Cody. If you're gonna say Cody Schwab, you have to say like Tafo beat Cody Schwab right before Cody Schwab blew up.
Yeah, I can't switch between the two. I gotta hard commit.
Tafo also beat Zayn right before he blew up. So Tafo said Ludwig was gonna blow up before he did. So Tafo's kind of like the
yes. Yeah,
Tafo's like the Edwin Budding of the Melee scene.
So does that mean that we should all invest in whatever Tafo believes in right now?
Wait, what does he believe in right now? Oh no.
Yes.
What about? We'll go into it.
June, you've been on our show before, so you should know that we have an unnamed segment at the end. We're wrapping up before we go. We got one last segment. So this is an unnamed segment known by the fans as Touching Grass. This is where we talk about something that's been going on in our life that's not Smash related, right? We always talk about Smash, so change of pace. We're going to talk about something that is not Smash related. So to give you two some time to think, I'll go first. And oddly enough, I've been watching some YouTube videos from two YouTubers, both named Linus Tech Tips. For some reason, I bought a new monitor, so I guess that's just kind of what you do. And also, God, I think his name is Linus Bowman, who is a European guy who talks about fonts and typography, and I'm just like, woo!
It makes me think of Pipsqueak, but just talking about fonts and typography.
The G's are consistently.
Yeah, consistently.
So I've been enjoying those, but honestly, that would not really tell the true story of my past couple weeks, because what has been taking up a lot of my time is Animal Crossing. I don't think I used this as my last Touching Grass, and if I did, I apologize. I apologize to my fans. I apologize to people who signed my checks. I don't know if I'll be putting on a headset again. No, but if that is the case, I'm sorry to use another one. But yeah, so my niece got Animal Crossing for Christmas. She is 8 years old, and she's been playing it. And sometimes I'll go over to that house to hang out, and I'll go over to my sister's house and hang out. And I'll just very casually donate a fish. It's try to make her feel like I'm not playing the game for her, but she's got a lot of whatever, and I'm like, oh, I gotta go sell these. She's got to have some bells. And it got me playing on my end to try to get her some stuff before I realized I don't have a Nintendo internet connection. I forgot. And I probably am not going to do it because
fuck Nintendo.
Because I side with Smash World Tour. Yeah, so she's come over, and my nieces have come over and seen my island, and they go crazy. And my other niece called me on FaceTime recently. She wanted to talk about how my island is, and I lied. I was just playing along. She's like, "Did you catch a fish?" I was like, "Yeah, I caught a really big fish." And now she's keeps asking to see it. So I have been playing a lot to catch this mythically big fish that I lied about having. So that's what's going on with me recently. Is a lot of Animal Crossing due to deception. What about you, Edwin?
Well, as I've brought up multiple times on the show, I went to Disney World during the last episode, which is earlier in February. And I gotta say, I never, I watched Disney classics growing up, but I wouldn't describe myself as a Disney adult at all. So, going with my in-laws, going with my spouse, this was just exploring something that, other than just baseline knowledge of it, was totally, just in a different world, right? I have a lot of interests that just don't, I guess Disney owns everything, so I can't say they have nothing to do with Disney. But it's just Disney is not something that I actively think about a lot, right? I don't have big opinions on Marvel movies, really.
How dare you?
Yeah, how dare I, right? Yeah, Martin Scorsese over here. But yeah, so going to Disney World was really fascinating. I understand the mindset of a Disney adult. I get the appeal, and it's not without its pros or right? Like, I understand. When I was at Magic Kingdom, seeing the fireworks, seeing the plays, and seeing the constant Disney messaging, seeing, childhood characters and like the people that like, tons of people, excuse me, I'm stumbling over my words here, but characters through that are so solidified in pop culture. It just made me think. It kind of wowed me. Like, I literally cannot imagine a world without Disney, and that's both like it's horrifying, right? Because it's in a sense like, regardless of what you can say about them, it's like they won. It's like there are billions of people in the world that or whatever that just know Disney, and they instantly recognize people like Donald and Goofy. And there's a twisted psychosis behind it. I know because I experienced it myself. When I watched Phantasmia, one of the shows, where the plot is kind of nonsensical. Basically, all the villains come back and they try to kill Mickey. It was horrifying. People next to me were crying. Babies, teenagers, like adults, people like well into their, like on the older side of things. The danger that they all
For
felt
different ages.
yeah, at seeing their favorite childhood character, like this symbol, like be threatened. And obviously he gets rid of the threat in like 5 seconds or whatever, right? And it's a spectacular show or whatever. But there's a very twisted message behind it. It's that, hey, this like your childhood, your innocence, and these characters that you love and care about, they're all connected by Disney. And if you don't buy Disney stuff, and if you don't believe in Disney, we'll kill them. They'll die. They'll go away forever. Your kids will never know that they existed. Your childhood will be gone. There's this very sick, twisted underbelly of nostalgia and like the reactionary power that it holds over these people. I understand them now. I understand because in the moment I became the Disney adult. I was scared for Mickey Mouse. In the moment, I felt that psychosis. And I truly understand it. I know this kind of sounds like a bit, but I really do get it. I understand how like I understand how like super pro police like liberal well off people from the suburbs think. Like I understand that. I understand their mind now. Like it was really it was just wild. Like I'm not gonna say I've become one of these people, but I get them. I see them in my everyday life, and I feel like I understand them a little better.
Wow. Yeah, that's a different vibe from Wheat's. Yeah, yeah.
No, dude, he's so full of shit. He cried at the fireworks every single time. Just
Yeah, it was overwhelming. I'm not full of shit. I understood it in that moment.
Oh, like you truly felt what they felt.
Yes, I truly did. I felt
just
it all
pure
around
awe
me.
at
it was because
the
he's
thing.
smart enough to understand the psychosis. That's why.
The spectacle.
I think you're a Disney adult. You're also like the worst Disney adult. You said that you didn't know any of the songs.
Yeah, so this is the funny thing. The song "Let It Go," I didn't recognize it until I heard the song until I heard the words "Let It Go." Like if you asked me to sing,
Very
it right
big
now,
song.
Yeah, if you asked me to sing it right now, I just know "Let It Go." Like I wouldn't be able to like recreate the rest of the song. I'd be making it up.
Yeah, I know the
Yeah.
chorus. I think I can stumble my way through the
It was
verse.
very funny to hear all of your, like the least informed person there who was crying. Like I'm sure everyone else was like, "This is so important to me," and you're just like weeping, swept up in the emotions of it all. Well, that's very good. Maybe we'll do a Melee Stats Disney cruise at some point. Also, wait, I've got a bone to pick with you. I have serious doubts in your idea. Bone. Yes, bone because Pluto has a bone. What are you talking about? Why did you say that? I've got a serious bone to pick with you. Because I have incredible doubts in your content brain for the fact that you went to Disney World and you did not get a picture of Donald Duck. I have a Donald Duck thing here. My profile
so
picture has been
sorry,
Donald
Reed.
Duck for 3 years. Literally, anyone would go there, they'd take a picture of Donald Duck, and they're like, dude, Wheat's here. And everyone would be like, hey, that's kind of funny. And yet, my own friend, my partner,
I was too busy hanging out
my
with Tigger.
confidant. Yeah, you saluted Tigger. You said thank you for your service, didn't you?
Okay, so yeah, this is the other thing, right? In the moment, my spouse is actually my in-laws didn't really notice, but my spouse was dumbfounded by this. Both Tigger and Piglet, when we took a picture of them, we shook their hands and hugged them or whatever. I said to Tigger, "Thank you for your service," and he kind of looked back and just went like this, and then walked away. And and my spouse is like, Anoke, I can't believe you did
You've
that.
like awoken like a sleeper cell by saying that. You said the phrase.
I just had the idea.
He did that, and he like set a bomb on Splash Mountain.
Yeah, I just had the idea of telling Tigger, like, it just came to me, right? I was like, I gotta do it. I have to say it. I need to see how this person reacts. And Tigger, like, he did the salute and then walked away. I tried it with Piglet, and Piglet kind of made this, like, little bashful, or he did this little, like, bashful jig, like, kind of, like, moving his, like, neck up, or I don't know how to describe it. He just,
Yeah,
like,
he does that. He does
yeah, it
that.
was a
in
little
Boy
coy,
Meets World.
right? And then gave me another hug and then left. It was I honestly have to say that was the highlight of my trip.
I think it's dangerous for you to go again.
Yeah, if
I'm
you
taking
go,
you
then
with
you're
me
gonna be a
next
full
time.
Disney adult.
Yeah.
And
I
you
think
be aware.
This
I
will
think
be
that
my
you start
apology.
working there.
I think this will be my apology. I didn't take a picture of Donald Duck, so I think the proportionate thing to do would be for you to come with me next time to Disney.
I think we're going.
I
Also, I loved your tweet you made about it, which is like, I know it sounds crazy. I can't believe I ever say that I'm doing this, but I'm going to Disneyland. And then it's like, you were
Yeah, I
replying,
literally
you're
got
like,
it wrong.
It's actually Disney World. Sorry. Just the idea of like, this thing that seems pretty normal, right? Like,
It's
if
just
I
totally alien.
if I ended up going to Disney World for something, I'd be like, this, okay. I would not necessarily say that I have any care to go to Disney World, but I would not be shocked if in my life I end up there. It's a thing that a lot of people do. And yet you phrased it like like, I never thought I'd be doing this. And yet here I am.
It's just so I'm not gonna say it's oppositional, right? Because I don't really have like a strong pro or anti Disney opinion, but it's just like it's just something I would never go out of my way to do it, right? Like just going to Disney World. It's just,
I am
it's
worried
like a
about
different
you. I
person.
think you would get Havana syndrome.
I love
Like that-
Smashers just doing normie things. It's
The
like-
idea of you going into Disney World and immediately just like crying and then you became right wing. What was this? I don't want to get into this, but the idea of this it worries me about you going into like like a foreign land, like a clandestine country. I think you would like immediately become like a fascist if that was an opportunity.
No.
I got really caught up. We all were singing.
He's gonna get in the mind, but he's not gonna become the true fascist. I believe in his moral compass.
Dude, when okay, God, this is in the weeds. I'm sure people are already tuning out now. But like, if you've been following me for a while or talked to me at all about like what I follow in the world, you'll know that I have a special interest in Brazil. I just think it's a really awesome place. In particular, one of my one figure of history and current events that I think is really interesting is Lula da Silva, their current president, who was also president earlier in the 2000s. And I suggested to my spouse last year that we go to Brazil, like for Lula's coronation at some point, right? And my spouse was just like, why are you suggesting this? Like, why does this matter to you so much? And the second thing is like, aren't you like scared of going to another country and just getting completely swept up in this thing that you don't understand? That like you're not like fully, like maybe you read about it or something, but you're not like ingrained in the context, right? So I feel a similar level of just like disbelief from Wheat on this idea of me traveling the world and getting wrapped up in something way beyond.
You would
my-
end up somehow in like Pyongyang and be like, yeah, dude, at noon everyone just started bowing and singing. It was great. They're all dancing around.
The Olympics are great there.
I do not believe in your ability to not fall for what is it called? Propaganda. Okay, let's stop there. That's a good end. Me forgetting the word propaganda. June, you've sat through me talking about Animal Crossing. You sat through Edwin talking about Disneyland for about as long as we talked about DK, which is the the function of this episode was to get on and talk about DK. What have you been up to recently?
Well, I will say that regarding Animal Crossing, I've heard that social gaming is good. It's like a healthy thing to do. Just like do a game to relax. And as a competitive gamer, I think I have not been doing enough of
Yeah,
that.
I know how you feel. I know how you feel on this.
I just I thought games were supposed to inflict deep psychological pain to me and others, and
I'm
I
not
should...
supposed to grind this thing for hours in a row.
You're
This
telling me I'm
technique
just
I need
supposed to enjoy the thing, but I have been trying to play more single player games recently, so I feel that.
Any
All the single
any
player games I
examples?
like are like that too.
Let's go to my Steam library. I played a like chess puzzle game called Barian. Pawn Barian. I also played another chess roguelike called Shotgun King, where you play as a king moving across the board while the other pieces try to catch you, except you have a shotgun. So it's like a turn-based strategy game where you're moving around as a king and you have to avoid all these pieces and you have a shotgun. I enjoyed that for a bit, and then the more I played it, eventually I got too into it and found all of its flaws, and now I don't like it anymore.
Nice.
And I read a review by the Crimson Blur on that game. I was reading reviews to see if other people had flaws, and found flaws with it, and lo and behold, the Crimson
This is
Blur.
on Steam. He reviewed it on Steam.
This is I didn't review it. The Crimson Blur did. Yeah, he
yeah.
reviewed it on Steam. Shotgun King is the game, and yeah, the Crimson Blur just has a scathing review of that game.
He's a good authority for all the shit people give him.
Yeah,
deservedly so sometimes. He is an authority on video games. He came on here at one time and he said that he wants to play every video game ever. That was his touching grass moment, is that he made a big spreadsheet of every important game ever, and he's going to go through them, and he's been currently working his way through.
Oh my god, that's impressive.
To an extent, yes.
To an extent. It's also madness.
It is very impressive. It is also someone saying they're going to try every hot dog in America. I'd be like,
okay.
I don't understand it. It would take a lot of effort, and if you did it, it'd be impressive. But I'm not sure if you should.
But I've also been biking. I guess I opened the episode with that. It's
It'd be very funny if you said, but I've also been trying to eat every hot dog in America.
Yeah, but I've also been just stuffing my face. It's great.
Biking, that's fun.
I got a bike.
Yeah, bikes
It's
are
not a
great.
competition.
I have a bike. I'm eating every hot dog. You don't think I will?
But bikes are they're a lot. I didn't know how expensive they were, and I didn't realize how fun they were.
Do you game while you bike?
Huh?
Oh,
How do
like
you-
a stationary bike?
Oh no, it's a actual bike. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't game while you're
Do you
biking.
game?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Question stands.
Is there something I don't know? I just see somebody on the street like playing their Switch while they're trying to bike. They're like, that seems dangerous.
I mean, it's a good use of your time, right?
Yeah.
Multitasking.
I mean, if I had
It's
a
a skill.
stationary bike, I definitely could do that.
No, well, you're not getting anywhere if you're on a stationary bike.
Yeah, there's something nice about just like, yeah, it hits some primal instinct, just like moving
Yeah.
places.
So I think what we found out is that biking and playing your game, you can achieve that on a stationary bike, but you don't go anywhere. Playing the game and going somewhere you can achieve by like going on a bus or a train, but you're not biking. So the only true experience is to get out there on your bike, get a Switch or a Steam Deck or something, and have at it. So maybe if you survive that, we'll have you on the show to talk about how that went.
Yeah.
Children,
I'll
if you're
start
listening to the
practicing.
show, please do not play video games while.
Yeah,
while you
Kingu.
bike. Yes, Kingu.
This is
Danger,
very
this is a
scary.
joke. Kingu
Yeah.
doesn't bike. He
Thanks
just
for
takes
having
the,
me on.
yeah, he just takes the double-decker bus or whatever.
Kingu takes $1 from Crampton to Spingleberry.
Is this a European player?
Yeah.
Yeah. How did I know? Public
Great
transit, Crampton, Spingleberry.
Oh,
did-
Higglesbix Lane.
Wait, here's a scene. You're Kingu, and you're talking to Abe over the phone about Master Spark as you're biking to Fate.
I'm not doing any character.
No,
I think I might invoke a national national crisis if I make fun of the Britons anymore. God, remember when I went there and I really thought that it'd be fun, and then I got COVID.
and got stuck in Stoke-on-Trent.
Yeah, I hate that
That's
country.
unfortunate.
Anyway, what I did not hate was this episode. June, thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Very
no
fun.
problem.
And I know that we didn't have. It's a fun episode to have because sometimes we come on and we have like, okay, we can only talk about Genesis because it's going to be a big event. But it really felt nice to get to talk to you about kind of whatever we wanted to, right? DK and whatnot, and very refreshing, very fun to have you on. Very appreciative. If
Yeah.
people want to follow you, I know you mentioned your YouTube videos you make about mid-tier characters. If people want to like watch that, if they want to see you on Twitter, where can they find you online?
If you follow my Twitter, it is at AR Junebug. So that's ARJUNE bug. And my YouTube should be in there. If you look up Junebug Smash on YouTube, I feel like my channel is one of the first results. But yeah, I think you'll find everything linked on my Twitter, and also Medify. If you want some premium coaching.
Do you have any examples of students that you coached who went on to place very highly at major events?
Yeah, I've coached Zane, Cody Schwab,
Okay.
Interesting.
Two Saint,
Okay.
Zuppy.
Wow. Well,
Well, hey, I mean, he's
Zuppy didn't top 8 Genesis, all I'm saying.
yeah, that's true. J-Flex, Crudo.
So I'm hearing if I want to be the next Crudo
Yeah.
or Zane, I should go over to your Medify then, right?
Yeah, sure. That'd help. It's definitely not them at all. It's all me, probably.
No, this is a guaranteed result.
Guaranteed. I'll
I
push it
appreciate
through.
you. I appreciate you for not only for being on, but for bolstering the scene just by you entirely, taking these students who are probably unskilled in every manner before they met you, and turning them to the titans of the game that they are today.
Yeah, before me, nobody was even saying the name Cody Schwab.
All right, man. I appreciate you being on. You're a very good guest, very fun time. And then, we have BEMI that's coming up. We're going to be looking forward to that. We're going to be watching that. And then we'll probably come back here maybe a little before Collision to talk about what's going on with that. So that is the next time you're going to see us. And thank you, everyone, for watching. We will see you again soon. Peace.